I think that this current generation, Generation Z, including the millennials, should understand the significance, the historical significance of the EDSA People Power Uprising. I don't call it a revolution. I don't think it was a revolution, but it was an uprising of the Filipino people.
Bibigyan kong din yung sinabi ni Eta. Ako rin ay naniniwalang hindi revolusyon ang nangyari. It was an uprising, pero hindi siya revolusyon. Kahit pag-aralan nating mabuti, ang revolusyon kasi bumabago sa struktura, bumabago sa power relations. Pero hindi ganun ang nangyari. After EDSA, nagbalikan lang sa pwesto yung mga na-dislocate ni Marcos sa politika at sa ekonomiya. But this is not to, belittle the value of EDSA. Sapagkat ang EDSA nga ang tumapos dun sa military dictatorship. Unfortunately, among others, hindi nagarantiyahan that the guarantees that would disable the Marcoses from turning history upside down at makabalik sa pwesto, hindi na ilagay, hindi na isaayos. Kasi yung mga nagsakayan sa bandwagon ng pagkakaisa, sorry to say, marami ay oportunista. Noong nakabalik na sila, nakalimutan na nila na importante pa rin sa mga institusyon natin, sa Department of Education, na idikdik sa kabataan yung mga aral.
Yeah, that so-called revolution is only an incident. It's an event. I'm sure, let's talk about revolution. The revolution which Lenin did in Russia is a revolution because pinatay mo lahat yung czar. Kasi yung kanyang authoritarian regime, pinalitan mo supposedly ng the rule of the proletariat according to the Marxist philosophy, diba? Which of course did that happen. Of course, you know where Russia is right now. But that aside, yeah, we're saying, alam mo kasi when you're a scholar, you use the proper word to define a particular incident or event. And the moment you label it and you label it wrongly, then people have expectations. Kanya, ginamit mo yung word revolution eh.
Revolution, yes.
After 1986, they were looking for change. Why didn't they see any change? Because the structures were the same.
Correct.
In fact, yung binura mo yung constitution, di ba? Pinalitan mo siya ng 1987 Constitution, the longest, the most talkative Constitution, and yet they were mostly anti-Marcos ang kanyang tono. And that's the reason why we're saying that 1987 Constitution should go. Kasi punong-puno siya ng tanikala na mismo tayong gago ang nagtali sa sarili natin. Okay?
A story born 100 years ago about life, leadership, and legacy waiting to be retold.
Si Marcos talaga really made a mark in who we are in international politics. No?
But if you compare what he did for our country during the time he was president, no one should ever be sorry that we had Marcos for a president.
Kung ikumpara mo yung good points ni Marcos at saka yung good points ng ibang naging presidente natin mula sa kalimpinan yung iba.
Since the Marcos administration, I don't know, have we really gotten off the ground?
Only history can rightfully judge President Marcos.
This is history. This is the story of Marcos. A story born 100 years ago of a noble man whose life is worth reliving and looking back to.
He's the only president with a national strategy.
You'd think that Marcos was the bogeyman, etc. But he was actually a very kind person.
The way that the Marcoses promoted the country, promoted the Filipino, is something I think that cannot be equaled in any administration.
His story speaks of the great Filipino dream, a father of a nation, in conquest for absolute freedom, true justice, and real democracy for the Filipinos.
The great slogan that he followed was, he wanted this nation to be great again.
He was the one who was actually seeking for an independent foreign policy out of the ambit, out of the axis of the United States.
It was President Marcos who declared for the first time what is now known as the Calayan Group of Islands as subject to the sovereignty of the Philippines.
The president also wanted a negotiation with the United States about the termination of parity in 1974. Yung ginawa ni President Park Chung-hee sa may Korea ay yung strategy ni President Marcos na ang pinakamataas na level of development ng Pilipinas over the last 50 years ay inong panahon ni President Marcos, specifically during the earlier years of martial law.
His story is a story of wisdom and goodwill, a story of a visionary leader with a strong political will who realized the Filipino potential and propelled the nation to progress.
Mr. Marcos provided a lot more impetus in creating programs of government that meant building of infrastructure in a very essential way. All these things moved forward in his time very rapidly in the 4 years that he was in charge.
Because that's the whole history of the energy policy. And that energy policy is being followed now. Agriculture, you should, look what Manny Piñol is doing. He's following Masagano 99, di ba? Kay Marcos yun eh.
His story is a story of character.
A war veteran who went to Bataan and picked up some soil and put it in a Ziploc and sent it to you. Kinuha niya. Alam mo, nung pagkakuha niya, tumalikod sa akin, bumalik sa kwarto, tapos nakikita ko na lang yung kanyang shoulders. Umiiyak.
Minsan, di ko nakita magalit. Pag medyo may problem, may crisis doon sa Makiki, tawagin niyo si Father, magsisimba na lang tayo. Pag may mga balita, minsan hindi ko nakita nagmura against the government. Basta tulungan na lang natin. Ganun.
Isang malaking injustice kung mananatili sa isip ng marami na si Ferdinand hindi nagmahal sa bayan. He loved this country so much that he was willing to sacrifice the presidency when he could have definitely attacked the people there at EDSA.
A story of a strong man whose life was reduced by a chapter of our history.
I have proclaimed martial law in accordance with the powers vested in the President by the Constitution of the Philippines.
Deklarang martial law to solve yung communist insurgency tsaka yung Muslim secessionism.
Yung kaguluhan na yon, hindi naman si President Ferdinand Marcos ang nagdala o ang dahilan ng mga kaguluhan. It was a phase when it was hip, uso ang lumaban sa gobyerno.
Never again, never forget. Actually, naniniwala ako sa kanila. Bakit? So, simulan natin sa never forget. Si Ferdinand E. Marcos at Imelda ang isa sa mga taong nagpakilala sa mga Pilipino sa iba't ibang dako ng mundo. Ginawa nila yung best nila para maiangat ang mga Pilipino, lalo na sa mga nasa laylayan. Nang dahil kila Marcos, ang dami nating mga infrastructures na pinapakinabangan pa natin hanggang sa ngayon. Kaya naman, never forget. Minsan na tayo nagpauto sa mga dilawan na iaangat ang mga nasa laylayan. Lahat ng sumama sa EDSA Revolution, iniisip or inakala na si Cory ang solusyon at si Cory ang magiging ina ng demokrasya, magiging ina ng Pilipinas. Pero isang malaking pagkakamali iyon. Minsan na tayong nagpaloko, nagpauto sa mga dilawan na sumira ng ating lipunan. Kaya naman, never again. Never again. Kaya mga Marites, ingat kayo dahil nag-iba na sila ng kulay ngayon. Rosas na. Mag-ingat sa mga tunay na salot ng lipunan at never again. Never forget, never again.